We're going to be pros at this.
Beck, you're getting rid of my Christmas song.
Oh, look, we're doing better and better each time.
We're only starting 2 hours. Okay, so you want me to do my intro?
Okay,
my cute little intro.
So the
And then
topics
the
we're
music
going to
break.
do first is Clean Missouri. So that's
Clean-
Oh,
I got-
yeah. What are our topics so I know what to talk about?
make it against Trump.
Yeah.
I'll wing it. Let's go.
Okay, we're going to do it like last time where I do the intro, cut, music, come back in.
I like it.
Got it?
Okay.
All right.
Countdown.
Let's start the Christmas songs again.
Good evening. See, it's still October. Going to do a little talking tonight on Cleaner Missouri, Amendment 3. Going to talk about the town hall flogging, which was the presidential town hall debate, which was a joke and a half. We'll talk about how the RNC apparently had their bells drop, which will be interesting. All spankings are consensual. It is the Freedom Roundup.
I feel like that joke was directed toward me.
It's Freedom Roundup. I'm Shaun Horner, Executive Director of the Heartland Fund, Incorporated. I am joined once again by my motley crew. We have Kress Cambers, Jackson County Republican Committee Treasurer, and Campaign Manager for the Jeff Coleman campaign. Thank you. The lovely and talented Michelle Horner, High Noon Republican Women Group President, Committee Member for Jackson County Republican Party, and Associate Director for the Heartland Fund Incorporated. And last but not least, representing the 32nd District of Missouri, Jeff Coleman.
Hey!
Oh, wow.
What up, Sean?
There they are. All right, so tonight we have a full boat. Holy cow. Somebody put some whiskey in my
I think
smoothie.
he needs some of that drink.
I do. I may need to loosen up a little. All right, so tonight, first topic out of the board. Let's talk about the Cleaner Missouri Amendment 3. Jeff, can you tell those folks that haven't heard us talk about it before exactly what Cleaner Missouri is on the ballot for Amendment 3, what it's supposed to do, what it's correcting?
Really, the main thing Amendment 3 does is allows the people of Missouri to re-look at all the facts of how we draw our district lines. Because Clean Missouri, which was passed in 2018, really, Clean Missouri had some good things to it. But what the Democrats wanted us to do was look at all the things that were good, and then they slipped in at the bottom in changing how our district lines are drawn. And basically they took the primary purpose or the primary goal.
Almost like a democracy kind of setup, where
Yeah,
at least you get the opportunity to come together.
the primary goal of compact and contiguous, which was the prior goals, to competitiveness, partisan fairness, which means, in essence, that they wanted to try to have as close to a 50-50 district as they can get to.
Right.
The problem with that is we're not a 50-50 state. So in order to try to get 50-50 in each of the districts, the lines become these long drawn-out spaghetti strings because they're having to draw from the areas that have Democrat prominence and bring them out to the suburbs and into the country. So some of those lines, some of those districts could dive into the middle of the inner city down in Kansas City and stretch clear out to Sedalia. So that's how they're drawn under Clean Missouri. Cleaner Missouri is simply asking the people to relook at things, relook at their decisions, especially on that one issue, and this goes clear back to 1960, is the sitting governor would appoint 10 people from each side, the Republicans and the Democrats. And it is a combination of citizens and legislature or politicians. So with those two groups, they would go to their own rooms, they would draw their maps, and then come together on a bipartisan basis overlay their maps, and see if they could agree on some sort of district lines. Then, if they couldn't agree,
And how often did they agree?
as far as I know, they agreed one time since 1960.
But that's the point. That's the point, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we're saying is that at least there's the opportunity. Yep, Kress.
So, can you debunk something for us real quick?
Sure.
This comes from Clifford Harvey. He is the former mayor of Weston. He says, quote, politicians want to rig safe districts to protect themselves and their special interest backers. Their plan, which could become Amendment 3, would allow for the most extreme gerrymandering in the nation. That means more partisanship and less collaboration to solve problems for the folks back home. So I know that's a lot to go through. So let's take this one sentence at a time. Politicians such as yourself, and basically they're saying Republicans, want to rig their safe districts to protect themselves and special interest backers.
Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. As I mentioned before, this is a bipartisan way of drawing the lines. The primary goal of what the law said prior was to keep those districts as compact and contiguous as we could. So both sides got together. They both sides on a bipartisan basis would draw their own lines, bring them together, overlay the districts to see if they could agree. Once they decided whether they could agree or not, then they would, if they couldn't agree, then it goes to a nonpartisan basis, which is to the appellate judge. So let's talk about what those lines consist of, because in that direction, keeping them contiguous and as compact as possible, that was the primary goal. All they were doing is taking the total number of people in Missouri, dividing those numbers by the number of state representatives, which is 163. And the last map was drawn based upon approximately 37,000 people per district. So it had nothing to do at all with what party you were.
It was all population
It was
based.
all population
So it's all
based.
population based then.
And that's how we did it before. It had nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. It had everything to do with how many people are in your district. Both parties drew the lines. If they couldn't agree together, then it goes to the appellate judges, which is a nonpartisan situation. However, let's talk about the last time the district lines were drawn. Bob Holden was in charge at that time, Democrat governor.
Right.
And the judges that drew the lines were Democrat judges appointed by Democrat Governor Bob Holden. If you go to my Facebook site, we have a video of a debate that happened on the floor between Republican Phil Cristofanelli and Democrat Peter Meredith. That just brings to light how the district lines were drawn, and it debunks anybody that says that we gerrymandered the lines.
So right now they're talking about that the Republicans, he says that this will allow for the most extreme gerrymandering in the nation. Talk about that.
Well, I mean, we just said it all, right?
Right.
We just told you exactly how they were
So
drawn.
who's gerrymandering the districts if I say Clean Missouri, what was in 2018 Clean Missouri Amendment 1, which is now in 2020 Amendment 3, if this does not pass, how will the lines be drawn? Will they be gerrymandered? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Because under Clean Missouri, which was
And who put Clean Missouri on the ballot initially?
George Soros and the Democrats.
And
The
special interests from out of state.
There you go. Yep,
Yeah.
special
Oh yeah,
interests.
the couple from Houston, Texas.
Couple from Houston,
And
Texas.
currently,
George Soros, teachers unions,
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood, they were all the primary
And
sponsors
out-of-state
of that.
PACs right now are sponsoring the vote no on Amendment 3. The Democrats have hired special interest, out-of-state special interests for this.
That's right.
You can hear our...
It's parent night out. No, what I
wanna-
thought was interesting was the state still has yet to hire or even okay the new position with that the
new
demographer.
demographer.
Yeah, the demographer.
Right.
So
So here's what you have to understand: the Clean Missouri, which is what we're trying to reverse in reference to how we draw our district lines. Clean Missouri is the exact definition of gerrymandering. Because as I mentioned before, there was no talk, there's no determination of one party or another in drawing the district lines in the way we used to do it.
right.
With Clean Missouri, the Amendment 1 in 2018 is exactly what gerrymandering states it is. And that's because they want to dictate, they want to put a certain amount of Democrats and a certain amount of Republicans in the district. That
Yeah.
is exactly what gerrymandering is.
Yeah, setting it up instead of actually just doing
So
population based.
I want to talk to you about... it also says, for the first time ever, so this is the Democrats answered the vote no on Amendment 3, pushing around on social media.
Yep.
It says, for the first time ever, this would not count children in population for redistricting. So has children ever been counted for population, citizen population for our districts? Or has it always been of age voters?
You know, I don't really know how to answer that. I can tell you that Clean Missouri doesn't even talk about.
No, it ignores that entire piece. It's
Yeah.
just it's in that particular case, it's just
So it's just
registered.
another Democrat talking point they're
It's-
throwing in
it's-
there.
It's just something they're throwing out there because in that instance, let's say that before when they were drawing the district maps, let's just assume they were using the straight out census, just human population in a given place. The way they were doing it before was, you do bulk locations, and actually, if you're doing it just by population, you're getting a wider cross section anyway. Right? Like what you were saying.
right.
What they're talking about now is they're talking about more using voter rolls, right? Because what you're talking about is I want a contiguous Democrat slot or Republican slot, and I have to look at the voter rolls, not the census. So in that particular case, I think it's actually worse. So I think that what they're saying is inaccurate, or somebody's talking past the other in that at some point somebody started saying, well, we're just going to use the voter rolls, which would ignore the children. I don't know why the children are important for
Population-wise.
I mean,
It doesn't make any sense, though.
using them as counters, yes, but I mean, they're not of voting age, so I mean,
Correct.
it doesn't. I mean,
So what about minority representation? What they're meeting is illegal immigrants. Should we count those people?
Yeah, illegal immigrants, absolutely not.
No.
And if they want to get into the racial side of things, what Clean Missouri actually destroys their representation in the people of color, because we've got to go down into, as I mentioned before, the districts in order to pull out Democrats. The people of color down in the inner cities are typically vote Democrat, and they vote Democrat for somebody that's in their inner city that lives with them and
That they identify with.
exactly.
Sure.
And so for Clean Missouri, for them to call us racist and that we're going to take away their vote, they're the ones that are taking away the vote, because we're going to have to break those areas up to bring them out. And I've mentioned this before. They are just as worried about this passing as we are.
Who's just as worried?
The Democrats.
the actual
Democrats.
Democrats, not the out of state folks, but the actual
the
ones in
actual-
the House.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, they
because-
won't publicly say this, but they are concerned that as we have to split those areas up and bring those numbers into the suburb, that they will lose their people of color representation for legislature, because they're not only worried about the Republicans taking them, they're worried about white Democrats taking them because they're coming out into the suburb and you have more white people in the suburb, and that's what they're worried about. So it's not just the Republicans that are worried. The Democrats are worried as well.
Because it really changes the face of that of the voting block, especially if you're drawing a line from downtown Kansas City straight south 80 miles, that demographic changes remarkably because you're going from deep inner city to farmland. And that constituency has very different needs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're polling, you're splitting those people up into you're splitting the people of color who have their own representation down in the inner city
right now,
and you're going to break that group up, and you're going to split them up into multiple spokes, and at that time you're going to lose the representation.
So I have another question, and this will be the last one from me. They keep saying that you will be undoing the will of the people. Can you touch on that? Are you really undoing the will of the people? Is this what Amendment 3 is about?
You know, there's that goes into much more depth from these folks, because they say we're undoing the will of the people. What do we think, that the people were stupid, that they didn't understand what we're doing? Well, no, I don't think they're stupid. I think that they've been duped by the people that are putting out the ads.
Yeah.
Because the ads they're not giving, they're either being deceitful or they're not giving you 100% of the truth. And I think it's a little bit of both. So, bottom line is, we're just giving the people of Missouri another opportunity to dig deeper, to make sure that they got the facts that they thought they had. And we can't change anything. The people of Missouri have to change that.
Which is why it's, being voted again. So.
Yeah, we're not changing the will of the people. The people are changing if that's what they want to do.
Well, a lot of people didn't realize that was part of Clean Missouri.
No,
when they
that
voted,
was down at the bottom,
that was down at the bottom. It was
Mm-hmm.
hidden. So people like, well, you're changing the will of the people. Well, a lot of people, when you talk to them about it, they're like, oh, that was on it. And you're like, yes, and it's just like a wide awakening of these people.
And this is a phenomenal example of where a true democracy breaks and where a representative republic works.
Yes, very good point.
Right?
Very
because
good point.
we unfortunately have this setup where you can get, and what did we say? It was 125,000 or something like that signatures to get something on the ballot, right? Well, if you promise everybody something, why wouldn't you vote for it? Hey, I'm going to put this on the ballot. Everyone gets $50.
Well, just sort of kind of like the Medicare thing,
Medicaid.
yeah, that
Medicaid.
just passed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the major cities that passed it. It was not the rest of the state of Missouri. It was Kansas City, St. Louis.
And that's one of those things that you always run into, is that and that's why the governor's race, they never seem to go to the small cities, well, unless they're driving through them, right? They'll hit the big ones and they'll drive through the small ones. They might do an appearance here and there, but and this is the example you and I came up with. How many times has the governor gone to Gentry County? But what I'm saying is that I have the opportunity to talk to hundreds of thousands of people, or in the case of Gentry County, what is it, 11,000 is the total population for the county?
Tens of people.
Yeah, tens of people.
Well,
what are you going to do?
But I will tell you that our governor, being a farmer,
no.
he has gone to the smaller communities.
No, he really has. He really has. No, but I'm just saying that's an example.
At the same point, at the same time, to your point, how many times has Nicole Galloway gone to those cities?
None.
Yeah, none. And you're not going to see her because
there's
no point.
Seen her. You haven't seen her at all.
There's no point. There's no point for her. And this is one of my little pet peeves. If I've always wanted statewide offices to be treated, and it's mainly because our state has that differentiate between city and rural, right? You can drive for 30 minutes from downtown Kansas City and boom, you've gone from population dense to deer dense. That's it, right? I mean,
that's funny.
But I mean, that's why I've always thought that approaching statewide offices in more of an electoral college fashion, where you have to win a given county, makes a whole lot more sense. It's dangerous. Yeah, I know.
You think that's really a good idea?
No, I just like it.
Okay.
But
Well,
you got to be careful in that, because we have to have the electoral college in the nation, because
Right.
for the presidency, I agree with. But as far as doing popular vote for your state representatives, your state senate, your congressional seats,
I was thinking more executive, like your executive branch stuff, like your governor.
the governor.
Like the governor have to run like mini presidency.
See, I think that's getting dangerous too, because there's a reason why Missouri is red and not blue. If he can, you have to have the right type of electors, though. But then again, it would follow the presidency, and whoever carries the state for president
Probably.
would
Yeah.
also carry the governorship.
Sure.
That usually follows anyway, especially with Florida. We see that with Florida each presidential election cycle. Whoever carries governorship in Florida usually will carry the presidency also. But I want to bring up one more point.
Okay.
Clean Missouri was a package deal fallacy. You pack together completely unrelated things, redistricting with campaign finance reform. And we all remember it was
yeah.
sold as campaign finance reform at the beginning. They told voters that they had to take the whole package or nothing at all. So they dishonestly sold voters on campaign finance reform while downplaying the redistricting plan and part of the entire amendment. And why is it so dangerous to make this a Missouri constitutional amendment?
Well, because it can't be changed
Yeah.
unless it goes back out to the people. So the hypocrisy of the Democrats right now is they've got the commercials on with the circus out there, and they're talking about how we're, big deal that we're reducing it by $5 for the lobbyist gifts. What's the big deal about $5? Well, that's because that's what they left on the table. They reduced it from unlimited down to $5, and I'm still to this day.
Who's they?
The Democrats.
Okay.
So when they say, well, they're only reducing it down by $5. Well, that's because that's all that's left. We're taking it off the table, and there are no exceptions, because they want to say also that we're leaving exceptions on the table for lobbyists that come in and be able to have their special interests come in. That absolutely incorrect. It just really agitates me that they can lie like that.
Blatantly so.
Just-
and not get called on it.
Yeah.
Gaslight. 100% gaslighting.
It is 100% a lie, because there are no exceptions to that $5 lobbyist gift. So the lobbyist gifts, and then we're reducing the senators' contribution limits from $2,600 down to $2,500. Not that big of a deal. However, they'll come out and condemn us for that, saying that we're trying to get the eye candy up here, and then we're coming down below and trying to sneak something through.
Sneak it through and do that.
What did they do with Clean Missouri? Holy cow. They have all these different things, to Kress's point, that have so many different titles and different things that don't really connect. And then all of a sudden, they're getting people to think about, hey, this is Clean Missouri. We're trying to clean politics up here.
Yeah.
But then they come down below and they change how we draw our district lines.
Okay. All right. So Cleaner Missouri is coming up here in what? Like 18, 20 days? Pretty close.
Are we 19 days out or 18 days out?
17
days out from Dakota Worrell.
Whoa.
I knew it was close.
Thank you for keeping track.
I knew it was close. So we're hitting that 2 week thing.
Time flies.
Yeah, it does. And
Do you think you're going to get reelected, Jeff?
I really hope so.
I mean, you have a tough race this time.
Yeah, but I'm not going to make fun. I've been working.
He really has.
I definitely want people to know that we've been out trying to do things. I do not have an
Let's be
opponent.
clear.
Yeah,
We're just teasing them.
I know you're giving me a hard time, but I definitely want people that might be listening to this to think that I'm not taking this serious. We're doing lots of things on Cleaner Missouri Amendment 3, thanks to Kress, And we're also gearing up for a property tax bill that we're getting ready to push again.
Good.
So we'll be bringing that up a whole lot more.
Good.
So before we move into our next subject, can we touch real quick, give us a quick synopsis on your property tax bill? I know we tried to do it last year. COVID hit, and it kind of went down the, I guess on the back burner for now, I want to say.
Right.
But give us a quick synopsis of this property tax bill.
Yeah,
and then we can move on to the next subject.
Well, and for our listeners out of state, you might want to give some context too.
So I had the honor of being on a special tax committee 2 summers ago. And what we did is we went from city to city, had open hearings for public hearings for people to come in and talk about local taxes in general. It wasn't just about property taxes. However, property taxes quickly took the front of the stage because that was what everybody was feeling at the time. And it was very evident, and the thing that we came away with is that our senior citizens who have been in their houses for 40 and 50 years were afraid that they were going to get taxed out of their homes. Also the lower income people also worried about getting taxed out of their homes. So I personally went back and I started doing some research. We put together a bill that basically says your property assessment value can only go up by CPI, which is a consumer price index. Mm-hmm. And so that really takes the pressure off the assessors because across the state there's supposed to be a standardization. There's no standardization across the state.
No.
So this gives that standardization. It makes it simple for our citizens, and it takes all that burden off the plate of the assessor and allows them to do their job on all the other things that they need to do. If you look at the history, the CPI has gone up on average just under 2% over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it is. We'll have a lot more information coming out. I'm pre-filing it in December, and we'll hopefully get that in front of the committees and get started early in the session next time.
Great. That's fantastic, especially for those those people that got those horrible tax bills and were freaking out because, I mean, there was a lot of them. I mean, I was lucky myself. I was not impacted. Plus, I'm selling my house, so what little I was impacted.
You are
actually
so
worked.
lucky right now.
I know.
You're
Which
getting
actually
out of
worked.
Jackson County.
It's like, and I'm done. No, but no, seriously, there were some folks that went. You know, what was the one that we read about, Michelle? It was like 4 or 5 times what they were
originally paying.
I mean, you can't have.
Yeah, 400 times.
Yeah, 400 times.
Yeah.
And it was I can't even imagine if that had hit me. I'd be, well, we're moving because I can't afford this house anymore.
Yeah, they have one home that was worth like $100,000, and you have the next home that they said was worth 400 times that, and they're exactly the same home.
Oh my goodness.
Well, and then it's the opposite way too. There was a home in Kansas City that was purchased for $1 million, and their property tax assessment was $250,000. Real case down in Kansas City.
Wow.
So
that's
just know
It's outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, how do you budget for that? I mean, it really.
I mean, really don't, do you?
Well, I mean, if you had some sort of regulation where it's like, you know, congratulations, your property's, you know, increasing in value, but it's doing so at a pace that's not going to outpace your earnings.
Right.
Right.
which is exactly what CPI does.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So I hate to say this, but I've talked to a couple of the Board of Equalization members, and they're saying that our next tax increase is going to have to be a fairly significant one because of COVID.
So Jeff, who? I know we're trying to move on to the next subject. Who's pushing back against this property tax bill?
Well, it will be the schools because they feel that they're going to.
Yeah, they saw what they could be earning, and they're like, sweet.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it comes down to. Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever gone to DESE and looked at some of these school districts. They actually have a per student what they spend per student, and you'll be surprised, especially if you take that number from say any of the larger schools in Jackson County and compare it on a by pupil basis, what they spend on a pupil here in Kansas City versus LA.
Yeah.
Just take a look at that sometime and see how close unbelievably close those are.
Yep.
We're going to combine the next couple. I want to talk about the town hall that took place. The town hall with I'm putting it in air quotes. You can't see me doing the air quotes.
We're on radio, Sean.
Yeah, I know. The town hall that our president participated in, the one that Biden, the cutesy little interview. I'm going to bring up something I noticed almost immediately because this time I didn't listen. I watched it.
Okay.
And I also want to talk about the fallout from the Hunter Biden and what's happened in the news from that. So I'm going to start with my lovely wife first because she likes talking about the Hunter thing. So tell us what the Hunter Biden fallout thing was.
Crack boy.
Oh, I like talking about Hunter. Not really.
No. What I want you to, what I'd like to hear a little bit more about is the emails and stuff that came out about Hunter Biden. Just generally speaking, and then if you could speak to it, what the RNC did after what happened with Twitter and Facebook. Can you speak a little to that?
So the emails that are coming out from Hunter Biden's laptop that was turned over to the FBI are in regards to him using his role in the China energy.
I don't think you said that right. China.
He was using his influence with being part of the CCP,
Ukraine,
Burisma, the energy companies, which are actually all broke and bankrupt, if you didn't know that, because I read it in the thing.
Well, after paying him $500,000
every month. Yeah, so anyways.
$50,000 a month or whatever it was.
Crazy, but he used that position to gain political influence from China with his father for his father. So he was also paying a percentage to what he was earning to his dad himself. And this information is just coming out from like Fox News is reporting on it and stuff. On top of all that, Twitter, which is
this is the big one.
Twitter, Facebook, as well as now YouTube, is anything that has mentioned.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Hunter Biden and the scandal with Joe, they're removing from their channels and removing from Facebook, and they're saying it's false information and blocking people from seeing it. Which, if there is one thing that I did find on Facebook is fact checkers didn't exist till the truth started coming out.
Especially against Biden.
Biden and the Democrats. And they started when you started hearing about Hillary Clinton and some of the stuff, how crooked Hillary Clinton was. Now
we're seeing a lot. Now this has gone from just being annoying, with the Facebook and the Twitter and the stuff. Now we're starting to get into a constitutional crisis because now it's becoming like a First Amendment thing.
Also, all social media.
They took the speaker, president's, speaker, press secretary.
Oh, okay.
Yes, press secretary. Yeah, I got to get that out. But they have blocked her account. They have literally closed her account down because she mentioned Joe Biden.
Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah, which is insane. They take somebody on his.
And they actually locked his account down for a while, too. No, Trump's. They actually did Trump's, too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they did Trump's as well. So it's getting pretty bad.
Right. It's one thing to do a minor cover up. It's another thing when you start. Now they're not even trying.
They're not even trying. You're right.
But they had to put Trump's back up because he's the president of the United
Michelle,
States.
you heard what Josh Hawley did, didn't you?
Yeah, what Josh Hawley, he filed a complaint with the FEC because it is giving a soft donation to Joe Biden.
And so did the RNC, and that's what I was alluding to when I talked about their bells dropping
their balls dropping.
Well, I didn't say balls dropping. I said bells. I was PG.
Bells.
It was PG.
Well,
but no.
PG.
But the RNC never does.
It's true. The RNC. This has been the most aggressive I think I've seen from the Republic because you have to. Because if you let this slide once, forget it.
Right. It's over.
Yeah. No, because it'll keep going. It'll keep getting worse. Because slowly but surely, any dissenting voice is being silenced on any of the platforms. Right. And it's only a matter of time before, if you have an R after your name. Good luck.
Why did
Jeff?
Why did you, when you looked at me, you said Shirley?
That's
why'd you call me Shirley?
That's not. I was giving you a perfect airplane reference and you didn't take it.
Seriously, though, I want to go back to something Michelle said.
Yeah.
Michelle, you talked about fact checkers.
Oh,
Well, now we're finding out that the fact checkers are Democrats.
Former
And they're-
DNC staffers.
Yeah, former DNC.
And they're not giving us real facts.
Right.
Well, and they're learning the fact checking from a George Soros company on fact checking.
So the fact checking is not really fact checking.
no, and it never has been. It's just been an excuse. But now they're not even doing an excuse. Like I said, Twitter's just wholesaling, removing content
And
that
so
it doesn't agree with.
and YouTube is now doing it,
Right.
and Facebook is doing it. I mean, it's becoming
gone from-
but Facebook did give you a warning they were going to do it.
Let me throw this out there, Michelle. We always talk about how the Republicans or conservatives, we would like to see more laissez-faire, free market solutions. So we know that in the place of YouTube, we have Rumble.
Facebook is Rumble. Yeah, Facebook
Rumble.
is Rumble.
Okay. And then Twitter,
Twitter is
Parler.
There's
Parler.
Parler.
There's Parler.
And there's also MayWe.
Yes.
And
So we're seeing
This is why she's helping with the social media for Heartland, because she knows it.
that's fantastic too. So we're seeing the more laissez-faire, free market solutions coming up on this. But should the government step in further and actually stop Section 203?
I think they need to lose their 203 status if they're
Do
going
ya?
to do it. But you have to also remember is that it's only good if the government is on your side and not on the other. So if you have Democrats all over the board, then they can sit there and change it again to the bad. You know what I'm saying? They can flop it. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, next time when you use the bathroom, flush it first, then come out.
Yeah, but she doesn't like loud noises.
I know. She doesn't. All right, have fun.
Okay, so let's redo that.
Just the last part with the flushing part.
Which I don't remember what part
It's all right.
that
We
was,
can we can keep it. It's cute.
But when you do when you remove the 203 status, you really have to think about who's in charge, because I mean, if the government was not President Trump and the Republicans running the Senate, it was just all Democrats, it could work in reverse.
So do
We
you
used
think
to have
that-
we used to have specific rules for political talking and timing. Very specific to prevent exactly what we're seeing now on the social media big IT side, right? We used to have to do the same, very particular for TV and broadcast media.
So let me throw this out here then. So we're talking about Section 203, the Communications Decency Act, right?
Correct.
And that separates these big tech companies from being a publisher or a platform. Right now, they're a platform, right? So what separates it? Say your cell phone is a platform for you to use. If whoever we have, Sprint, AT&T, Verizon, those people decide to listen in on your call, don't like your call, and they hang up on you. They hang it up on their end. So are they a platform for you to talk on, or are they becoming a publisher like, say, the New York Times, New York Post, Washington Times, whatever?
I don't think they fall into either, and here's why. I think they're more of, and this is why I think it's a First Amendment issue. They're more of a public square, a virtual public square. So instead of
Wouldn't that be a platform?
It wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be considered a platform. I think it's more of a public space. And the reason I say that is because they're not truly. How do I put this? It's they're allowing for the conversation to take place, not necessarily. I don't know how to put it, but I think it's almost a third option. Does it make sense? I don't know that it falls in either one of the two. I think it falls almost dead center because it actually it's both. But I think choosing either of the two is not a good option. I think there needs to be a new third.
And remember, there used to be other companies that used to try to compete with Facebook, and Facebook literally bought them out, or they forced them out of business.
Well, that's
And so now you have these other ones that are trying, like MayWe and Parler, that they're like,
I'm going to show my age real quick. Do you guys remember MySpace.
Yeah, I remember MySpace.
Yeah.
Don't remind me.
Okay.
Yeah.
My top 5 places.
But
right.
but when Facebook came into play, they got rid of MySpace because they totally ignored.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, and like I said,
them out,
I think we are looking at the birth of a third category.
Okay.
I really do, because it doesn't fit into either one of them. But I think anytime you do what they're doing now, which is turning off the spigot for a particular political faction they don't like, then that becomes a problem.
And
I also don't believe, and this is going to aggravate some folks, I do not believe there is such a thing as hate speech.
No, you know what? It is all free speech, honestly. So
There's
you're
hateful,
right.
there's hateful
There's
speech.
hateful
Don't get me
speech.
wrong. And there's speech that I don't like. But
it's
in
still-
this beauty of a country,
You
you're
can turn it
allowed to
off.
speak whatever crap you want, as
So-
long as it's not a call to action.
Thank you. Thank you. I was going to bring that up.
No.
To be clear-
that's the difference.
to be clear.
they always say that. Well, you can't yell fire in a movie theater. I'm like, of course I can't yell fire, because that's a call to action. That's not
Right.
free speech. That's a call to action.
If I say we need to go to the White House, break down the door, and do harm to our president, that is a call to action.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is a call to action.
and that's the difference, and that's always been the difference. And we seem to have lost that, because now what's constantly being said is-
Misgendering
Yeah.
somebody is hate speech.
No, it's just.
I mean, that's what they're saying.
It's a mistake,
Right.
And it should be treated as such. Just quit.
everything's based on your feelings.
Get off of it.
Yes.
I called you a
just-
jerk. I'm sorry. Not. It's just amazing to me that people, they really do hurt
Yeah,
based on hurt feelings.
It's. I would like to see the platforms be like they were about 10 years ago, which is, if there is a problem with a post, specifically a law broken,
Right.
or physical harm, or even doxing, an individual.
Oh, that needs to stop.
Yeah.
Right here, right now.
But I mean, that's the kind of policing that's needed when it
Right.
comes to facts. In the whole fact checking thing, which is ridiculous to begin with, that should be on the onus of the reader.
Yeah.
It really
absolutely.
should.
It
If
really
you
should.
don't know, go look it up.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we were taught when we were younger is to
Well, we were
fact
also taught
check, fact check,
sticks
fact
and
check.
stones, right?
Yeah, but we were taught to always fact check and make sure that what you're saying and what isn't is true before
No.
you open your mouth and speak. But now it's based on your emotions, not on facts, and it just drives me crazy. But that's one reason my friends are, especially my high noon ladies, they go, "Why are you on Facebook?" I was like, "Just to piss my liberals friends off, just because." I mean,
And she is, too.
And I literally post stuff that is really, but I have some Republican friends that follow me, and they find out what I go through. Oh, this is really cool, and I'll post it. And they're like, "Oh, if we wouldn't have known unless you posted it." And I'm like, "Really?
Yeah.
You don't have that many people that post this kind of crap to,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff
And my-
just to tell people."
My beautiful
because
wife has always been a little louder than me, but the beauty of it is they're always like, "Well, you couldn't possibly think like she does," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Why?
Yeah, when
Well,
we
what's
used to
funny
have.
is
Why?
what's funny is she can be verbose and be like in your face. In the meantime, I'm like starting a pack, for crying out loud. and they're like, "Well, you'd never do something like that." And I'm like, "No, I do something like this."
Right,
You know,
right,
and
right.
it's,
Right
and
for
it's
this
really
corporation.
fun. Well, because we used to have a joint Facebook account. Because I had some creep, bugging me on mine, so we just combined ours
Now
together.
she's okay with
You
the
guys
creeps.
share the same toilet.
No, I don't
too.
have. Yeah.
Now she's okay with the creeps,
Well, no, because they leave me alone now because I've been married 10 years.
and apparently happily.
And very happily. Though it was only supposed to last, a couple of years.
7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. But we're past that now. So,
Our warranty's expired.
yeah, warranty's expired.
That's the itchy part, right?
Not the holy cow.
But
7 years. That was
yeah,
good. That was,
but I would post stuff on our joint account, and then he had this one very liberal friend, and she's like, "You have to be his wife. This is not Shaun. Shaun would never say stuff like this." And I go, Yes, I am his wife, but obviously I got my point of views from someone because my husband taught me well. And,
Yeah, because I was the one that we talked about politics. We're like, hey, how can we get involved more? It's
and I mean, but I was like, I just come right out and just say it.
That's
I
why
mean,
she's
the
awesome.
really funny thing is that in the process of selling our house, we can't put any political signs out.
Right.
You can't do that.
That's a bad.
Maybe our listeners
idea.
don't know. You guys did something pretty awesome.
Okay, you're gonna have to help us because I don't know what pretty awesome would
is
be.
because right now we've
Yeah, we got a lot going on.
I don't think we've ever said anything on the podcast about you guys selling your house.
Oh yeah, we actually sold it.
We sold our house. We're gonna be moving here very soon. We got all those ducks in a row. Yes, yeah, you can applaud because that's a good thing. Yay!
Yeah.
I have lived in this house, or I should say, a Horner has lived in this house since it was built. So it was my parents originally. And then when my dad passed away, I bought it for my mom. So we've been staying in it. It has the same phone number that my family has had for over 40 years.
Wow.
It actually has a phone in it. I'm not kidding. A real phone.
A landline.
What's that?
Yeah, I know.
Well, they're not really landlines.
Yeah, they're not landlines anymore.
because
I
when
kept it thinking that that was a good idea to have an honest-to-God landline.
Yeah.
It's not. It runs through the computer router. It's not even a real
really?
phone. No, it's
no. So now we're moving out of county, and it's sort of
it'll be a different experience, but
it'll be in the country.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
It'll be awesome.
It'll be good.
It'll be good.
All right, so as we're wrapping up, I'm going to add a new thing that my constituents here have no idea I'm going to be doing.
I think we could just keep on rolling for another 20 minutes. I don't know about you. I'm feeling pretty good right now, Shaun.
And Dr. Williams is talking. So
I just got it.
I want to. Yeah, you just looked over at the bottles, which you did.
Thanks for calling me out, buddy.
Well, it's either that or spankings. All right,
Oh.
so
You had to go there.
and there it is again.
You had to go
I
there.
get it on there again. Jeff keeps going. Why do I keep volunteering for this? Why do I keep okay?
He's like,
for
guys, you know I am elected
yeah,
politician.
and we love you. And if
you're
we didn't
talking
have
about
fun, you
spankings.
wouldn't want to do this anymore. So
Well, he's like, all
right. So anyway, what I want to do next is I want to
I'm not going to cut it at all.
go to each of you, and I want to. You've got 45 seconds, and I do have a timer.
That is not fair.
It is too fair.
You're telling a politician he only has 45 seconds to talk.
Wait, you're telling Jeff.
You're right.
you
You're
only
right.
have
All right.
45
You're right.
seconds to
Kress,
talk.
you have 45.
That is not
Michelle,
fair
you
either.
have 45. You have a minute and a half.
No, you didn't. No.
You got special favors.
Shaun, you did it wrong.
Did I do it wrong?
You
Oh,
tell
sorry.
him 30 seconds.
Oh, and it turns into
And
a
it
minute
turns
and a half.
into a minute and a
I
half.
see. Sorry.
Now he thinks he has 3.
My bad.
Right.
I thought it was going to be 45 minutes.
No, that's
Oh,
not.
God.
You get
We're gonna-
45. You get 45. I get 45 minutes.
We're going to need another.
I think we're rolling into 45 minute right now.
All right. So, what I want to do on this quick fire is I want you to mention something that popped out of for you this week that we haven't mentioned that you really, really want to talk about. And I'm going to actually start first and give you guys at least a little time to think about what you want to talk about as you quickly stare into your phones. All right. So the thing I noticed, I want to talk about the two debates, and immediately that happened recently, the town hall debates. And I don't know if anyone noticed this, but beyond the whole, not asking Biden about his, his son and his dealings and all that jazz, which never came up once. Thank you very much. What I thought was interesting was they were trying to offset both of the players, because Biden gets this really nice, comfy chair, and the president gets a high stool with no padding at all. It was like a high chair thing. And it's like they already set him off almost immediately. So I hope that you guys have found your articles you want to talk about, because I could hear them on the podcast. All right, Kress, you want to go next? Ready? 45 seconds. Go.
So we're going to talk about the 25th. I was going to say the 45. Nancy Pelosi wanting to introduce the 25th Amendment.
Oh, yeah.
Or the extension to the 25th Amendment.
Crazy P.
So I can't feel my face, Pelosi. She's doing this because... So everybody's saying she's doing this because of Donald Trump. If he gets reelected, they can just take him out. But let's think about this real quick. is she really doing this for Joe Biden's sake?
She has to.
She has to be doing this for Joe Biden's sake, which would mean Kamala Harris would become president, and then Kamala Harris would get to pick the VP.
Was it last podcast or the time before? Dakota actually mentioned that they were floating the balloon about Pelosi. Remember? He actually mentioned it, and he happens to be right
being the
behind me.
VP. So
Yeah.
let's hear from Dakota real quick. I will relinquish the rest of my time.
I don't have any time. You used it, but I'm going to give Dakota some time and give our other two, Michelle and Jeff, extra time. How do you like them out?
Oh man, I feel cheated.
Hey, good to be here.
You thought you was the audience.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
Welcome in, Dakota. How are you doing?
oh, I'm living the dream. So,
Dr. Williams, okay for you?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's adequate.
Copay for Dr.
talk
Williams was
Talk about
only
that balloon
$10.
floating. Yeah, talk about the balloon.
15.
The trial balloon.
Yeah, the trial balloon.
Oh yeah. I mean, the trial balloon that they floated was Kamala Harris, quote unquote, accidentally saying the Harris Biden administration. It was not an accident. It's what we call a trial balloon in the business. You float an idea out to people, make it look like a mistake, and see how people respond. And if they respond positively to it, then you roll with it. So what they were doing was with this trial balloon was seeing if they could get away with doing what we all know they plan on doing, and they may have decided that they could. So that's what that means.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. So that was interesting. All right, thank you, Kress and Dakota, for dueling. Next up, we'll go to my lovely wife, Michelle. 45 seconds. Go.
Well, there's a couple of topics I wanted to talk about. One is Ice Cube and how he wanted to talk about how to improve Black lives in America. And he talked to both the Trump campaign as well as the Biden campaign. The Biden campaign said they wouldn't talk to him until after the election. And Trump started talking to him right away. And he was originally supposed to be on CNN about it. And CNN canceled his show because he's talking to Trump. So awesome. But then also news keeps coming out about election mailing ballot fraud. Pennsylvania had 370,000 ballots. Applicants rejected because of multiple votes.
Yeah, this
just keeps going on and on and on.
Oh
with
yeah,
these,
and you're going to keep seeing them come up because, just like I said, if you're not willing to take $5,000 cash, stick it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and mail it somewhere, you shouldn't be doing that with your vote.
Well, and then you have some that were like in Ohio, or where was it, that they had over 50,000 of those mail-in ballots and have a signature spot.
Oh, yeah,
and that none of those votes would be valid because it didn't have a signature.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a buzzer.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
You can't talk about somebody else's topic. No, do you want to say something about it too?
No.
You just want to reclaim your time.
I just think we just need. That's a topic. It's a very important topic of this election
You are
fraud.
absolutely correct. I was just wanting to say I agree with you 110%.
Yeah, I think the next time we need to talk about
because that's going to be something that the Democrats are going to bring up if Trump wins is election fraud, and it's always on their side.
I think it'll be on both sides though. If Biden wins.
We have proof.
We do have proof, just like you said in Pennsylvania, 370,000 mail-in ballots.
Not a small amount, like a significant number.
Yes. And many of these people, because I didn't vote, and so somebody's doing fraud.
Somebody did for you. All right, Representative Coleman. 45 seconds, a topic of whatever you want. Ready? Go.
You mean it's my turn?
It's your turn. 45 seconds. Go.
Okay. Wait a second. You got to give me a minute and a half.
No, I said 45 seconds, but it's going to turn into a minute and a half. I know how this works.
Well, I just want to bring it local. More local.
No. Go right ahead.
I just heard from the McCloskeys.
In their meeting. They were at the Jackson County.
Yeah, they were at the Jackson County committee, and the barbecue that we had.
That thing was crazy. The amount of people there.
Oh my gosh,
it was insane.
Yeah, there was not enough room, so 200 and some odd people there that just filled up and went out the back door. So that was awesome.
23. 23. No, what? How many was it?
2 to 300.
2 to 300.
2 to 300. I knew it was a lot.
Yeah, because it was standing room only, and I knew they were,
But one of the things that I took away from that is they talked about how there is a hotel in
Overland Park.
Yeah,
I got that one
that
too.
is being filled up and taken over by people from outside the state coming here, and they're using it as a rallying point,
staging point,
right?
yeah.
And that they will be going out during our election to create all kinds of havoc.
Oh, wow.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me that no one, of course, no one's no one's publishing or reporting on it or telling
really?
anybody.
Right. Yeah.
No, but they're staging, and I don't doubt it because that's what they've done in other big cities.
Right,
too.
absolutely.
Oh, Dakota, you have something? Okay, here.
What was your name again?
Don't worry about it. This is Dakota here. This is important though. Teresa Galvin on the Jackson County Legislature, and she told me that they are actually occupying hotels downtown. Not just Overland Park now. They're downtown now in Kansas City, occupying hotels and staging for Election Day.
Yeah, and understand this is not just happening here; it's happening all over.
Yeah, it's happening in even the larger cities and larger places,
Right.
and it's gonna be everywhere.
So I guess my 45 seconds is up. That's what I wanted to talk about.
No, that's a good topic because that'll lead into next time because I really want to hit that for the next podcast. I want to talk about the election fraud. I want to talk about how this stuff is coming up. We watched a great broadcast from Blaze TV about the left's plans, and they read it right off the websites and stuff. It's scary. It's scary stuff.
And them doing the setup and then occupying the hotels. This is what their plan is.
Oh yeah,
to cause
and they said it. They said it
chaos
right there.
and-
It's not a surprise. It's not.
So you're talking about Glenn Beck.
Yeah. And Glenn
Glenn
Beck.
Beck talked
In fact,
about it.
I think one of the
Dan
three.
Bongino has been talking about it as well.
Oh yeah, Dan's been talking about it longer.
Well,
Yeah.
and then Project Veritas did that one guy in
Yes.
Colorado.
Yes.
Who's now
he's-
been fired from CenturyLink.
about causing chaos and burning things down, and he's willing to
Lie, cheat, and steal.
and kill anybody that doesn't believe in what his beliefs. Yeah.
So,
it's-
to our audience, if you guys are not familiar with Dan Bongino, I suggest you go to his YouTube channel or his podcast channel to look him up. If you're not familiar with Glenn Beck, I suggest
Get out of your hole first because
I suggest you look him up because both of those guys have been talking about it. Or Project Veritas on much of their stuff is on YouTube.
It's also on Instagram right now.
Instagram.
Or used
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah, it used to
It
be.
used to
Yeah,
be,
I was
right,
gonna
right.
say. I was going to say any of these platforms you got to be careful about. Now, Project Veritas.
They do a lot of undercover work,
work.
and they did a lot of
They do
undercover
a lot of
work
reporting,
during,
which you don't
Yes.
see anymore.
Yeah.
during
Honest to goodness reporting. They were the responsible for bringing down Acorn.
Correct. Well, I was just going to say, bring it back here to Missouri. They went undercover during the Claire McCaskill campaign during our 2018 senatorial race with Josh Hawley.
Common Sense Claire? What?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
about
how
her
she
using-
took her RV airplane around Missouri.
What?
Yeah, right.
What?
But yeah, so feel free, guys, get online, search Project Veritas. James O'Keefe runs Project Veritas. O'Keefe, I apologize. Dan Bongino and Glenn Beck.
And I can post some of the stuff because the Heartland Fund, we do have a Facebook, Twitter, maybe.
What is that? Can you give it?
We are launching this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
breaking!
Yeah.
Is this breaking news?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
We've got
the Heartland Fund,
The
where-
website's ready to
Ready to
launch.
launch.
The social media's
Media.
ready to launch, and boom, it's all going to
Nice.
open.
Yeah,
This is
so
exciting
I'm
news,
going to
guys.
post stuff from. I do stuff. I started on Facebook already about stuff that like the stuff that happened last night on this town hall. But I really am going to start posting on social media. I'm going to do all social media basis, Parlor.
Because
All right.
we
Good
have
job,
to.
guys.
You
Because
have
before
to.
too
Good
long,
job.
before too long, I mean, we're gonna lose these platforms.
We're
Yeah.
going to
Something
lose
doesn't
them. So
happen,
you have
so-
to use a platform that you won't lose, which is Parlor, because Parlor believes in free
Well,
speech.
plus we're 17 days outside of an election. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are launching this to
Yep.
to the people
Yep.
so we
So-
can get information out for you. So I'll put stuff from Dan Bongino on these things as well as
And we've got the coffee a month contribution coming up,
Yeah.
or we've set it up so you can
Yeah.
contribute.
So
to
tell
the
me
Heart-
about that.
Oh, so you can contribute to the Heartland Fund, $5 a month or $60 a year, the equivalent of a coffee. Although I don't get the foo-foo coffees, but some
Oh.
people do.
Yes.
like your wife,
like my wife, and Jeff Coleman.
Which, if you ever ride with Jeff for anything, he will get you that foo-foo coffee.
Sweet.
I kinda
need
like
more,
it.
I need a more ride with you more often.
They don't call it foo-foo. I call it foo-foo coffee. It's
No,
actually
it's okay.
called gourmet
Yeah.
coffees.
Well, you know what? I enjoy the foo-foo gourmet coffee. I will be 100% honest.
But
it's not too bad.
Let's talk about where I get my coffee from.
They're not a
It is-
sponsor.
I'm just going to say.
Let's be clear. They're not a sponsor.
Well, I'm not even going to say the name, but I will tell you who it's not, and that is Starbucks.
Good. 'Cause
sorry, anybody that likes Starbucks. I just can't.
I like
do
the other
politics.
one there's two of them that I don't mind,
So
that are not Starbucks.
Sure.
Oh, well, next time we do a podcast, Jeff, your job is to bring us some foo-foo coffee
You know what?
I will
I second
bring
that motion, Michelle.
I will bring the coffee.
because we do these so late that it's past my bedtime. And I just something to wake
My
me up.
actual
Michelle
work.
does shut off at about 10 o'clock, so this is well past shut off time for her.
My
Bless
body's,
her
I
heart.
think, getting used
Bless
to
her
it.
heart. So, all right. So we did our 45-second quick fire for everybody. I want to make sure we got that in. And that was everything I had for this podcast. So on behalf of myself and Kress and Michelle and Representative Jeff Coleman,
That's me.
That's me.
See, that's what I was expecting
Well.
to do when we launched.
He's pointing his finger. I'm like, what? I'm looking at the.
Have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Bye, all.
See you, Sean.
See you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Jackson County Republican Party and promotional considerations given by Heartland Funding Incorporated, helping promote traditional values and candidates. Contribute at jacamo.gop, that's JACAMO.gop, and fundingtheheartland.com.